Hello and welcome to this video on creating football formations in Tableau. So I tweeted this, or an image like this, on Twitter a little time ago, and a few people had asked me how I did it, so I thought I'd build the following tutorial. The first thing is to say where I got this data from. So I received the data from a website called prepandata.blogspot.com, and Prep and Data is a Tableau kind of community website set up by Carl Alchin to help people get better at a software program called Tableau Prep, where they set a weekly challenge. You get some data to start with. You have to use Tableau Prep to clean it, to prepare it, to get it ready for analysis. And week 18 in 2020 was this football formation data. I'd also like to give a special mention to Tom Prowse, who internally in the company I work for, the Information Lab, had done some work around this kind of concept that I leaned on quite heavily for this tutorial. So thanks to him. So first of all, that's where I got the data. Now I did clean it up a little bit. I actually did this week's challenge to get the data into the right format. But I'll provide the files that I've used within this tutorial in the comment section below, so you'll be able to get access to. But be sure to check out Prep and Data if you have an interest in this kind of area and you need to do similar tasks with your own data. Okay, so what does the data look like? So let's take a look at that. So I've got an Excel file here, and really what we're interested in, there's quite a bit of detail in this in terms of minutes played and this kind of stuff, which I'm not really that interested in for the purpose of this video. What I am keen to do is look at the player number, which is really important. So that's the position they've played in that match. This Excel has done a lovely job of reformatting. That should say 443. It'll be fine when we open in Tableau, but Excel has done some sort of weird stuff to format that as a date, which is not useful, but it should be fine. And then we've got the opposition as well. Okay, and as I said, there's other details around the players and whether they came on or off as subs and various other things. But the real key bit to this is the first three columns here. So we've got the player name, we know what position they played in, as in 1 to 11, and then we have the formation. As I said, this will come true correctly in Tableau. Now, in order to make this work, I want to be able to plot the players onto a pitch. Okay, if we look at this in a single game mode, in reality, what this is a scatter plot. Okay, so it's a scatter plot with an image as the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the axis here just to show you. So you can see it's simply just a scatter plot, and for example, goalkeeper, which is position 1, is halfway along the axis, which runs actually from 0 to 50 here. So they're at 25, and he's about 5 up on the y-axis. Okay, so each one of these positions is simply just an XY coordinate. Okay, now it would be fairly painstaking to go through the full list of all the games a team had played, and every time you see 443 and player 1, really what we need are 2 additional columns at the end here that would say X is 25 and Y is 5. Okay, that would be fairly painful to go through. So instead of doing it that way, what we're going to do is create a separate table, a separate sheet in Excel as our kind of formation master sheet. So every time it sees the formation of 443, for example, and player 1, it's going to attach the correct coordinates here on the right hand side. Okay, now how I did this is fairly rough in fairly simple terms. So we can grab a PowerPoint here, and all I needed to do was kind of lay out my playing positions or my discs in whatever formation I wanted. So in this case, Liverpool are playing 4-3-3. So I could do something like this just to pop the players roughly into position. And that allows me then gauge where they should be within the pitch. So for example, player 1 is at 25 along the x-axis and 5 in. number 2, who's the right full in this data sense, number 2, right back, roughly about 38 there on the x-axis and 15 from the top. Okay, you can always play around with these and change these as you go, but it gives you a nice indication of where they are. And you just kind of need to repeat that for all of the positions, just to have an idea of where you're going to position them. So then what I do is create our kind of formation table. Okay, so it's a very simple Excel file. It needs to contain the formation that you're looking at, the player number, the player position, and then we've got the X and the Y. And then I just look at my coordinates here on my PowerPoint, for example, and I just type them in. So 25 and 5, and my right full is 38 and 15. Okay, and then you can continue on. Now I have copied and pasted some of these so we can speed up the process, but you'll get the... Okay, so I just need to do that one time for each formation and each player contribution. Okay, and I have something very similar then done for the other formation that Liverpool might play. And again, just to speed up time, I've copied and pasted this in. Okay, so they play 4-2-3-1. In that position, you might see how some of the players might change. Okay, we don't need any subs in there. We can see we have a left wing, a centre forward, attacking midfield. And all you're really doing in that case is just kind of rearranging the discs. And the PowerPoint just gives me a rough idea of where they should be. So now they become maybe 45 or 40, that kind of thing. So really, the PowerPoint I just use just as a guide to give me some idea about what should be in this formation file. Okay, the big advantage is it's you know, something you have to make the first time, but you never really have to worry about it too much again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is save this file. All right, and I'm going to close it down. I also have my actual playing information. So this is the important information here in terms of the actual details of the opposition and all that kind of stuff. So we can close that down as well. And now I'm going to open up a brand new Tableau and show you how we'd go about creating it. Okay, so you'd need the source data. You need to create that additional file with the formations, and you can list out as many formations there as you want, as many combinations as you need to, and that can become your kind of master file for the coordinates. Okay, so within Tableau now I need to connect to these two data sets. So they are CSV files. And it should be this one. It should be this one here. Yeah. Okay, so it's this one, Allison, and as I said, 4-3-3 that they're playing here. So at the end here, ideally what I want are two extra columns with the XY, and that's where we can use the formations file. Okay. So let's add in that file, and I think I saved it as an Excel file, and it should be this one. Okay, so we're going to drag this in. Tableau is going to ask us for the relationship. So how do these two files relate to each other? So we've got the formation equals the formation. And also we need the player number. Let's have a look at that. Player number equals player number. So we can match the player number here to the player number. Okay. Now this video doesn't necessarily explain joins or what we're doing here in terms of relationships in the newer version of Tableau. There's plenty of material online of how to do that, but essentially what it's doing is it's saying find the matching formation. So in our case, let's say 4-3-3, and then also find the matching player number. So that could be 1 to 11. And when it matches, it's going to bring in these X and Y coordinates and put them at the end of our data. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that. So now we can go into Tableau and we can start to build a viz. Okay, so I'm going to do this just for a single game to start with. So let's take that match detail number and let's look at all values, and we'll just look at whatever the first game is. Okay, so I'm not too interested in exactly who that is at the moment, but we can come back to that. So I've filtered just for one game, so we can look at this at a single game at a time. And then I need to use my X and my Y coordinates here. So I'm going to put X across and Y up and down, and I'm going to make these an average. All right. And on the face of it, doesn't really look like Tableau has done too much. It's given us one data point. So really, when we're building a scatter plot, we have to tell Tableau that we want a data point per something. So in our case, we want it per player number. So for every player number, 1 to 11, we want to have our own circle. So I'm going to put player number onto detail. And now you can see, even with just a couple of steps, it looks like we have our formation working here. Okay. So we can tidy this up. We're pretty close, really, just even at this stage. Let's put our background image on it here. So I'm going to go back up to map, background images, and we can add an image to this. So I'll go off and find my pitch here. And then we just tell it what are the coordinates we've got. So it's 50 by 50. Click OK. Actually, I'm going to edit this. I need the pitch going the other way. Yeah. Okay. So you can see how I've lost the kind of lines a little bit on my pitch. It's not exactly as I would like it. So for that, I'm going to just fix the axis. So right click on the axis and edit. And I'm going to fix these. And I'm going to give myself just a little bit of space. So 3 and 53. That just will give us a little bit of white space either side. Let it breathe. And I'm going to do the same up here. I'm going to make it -3, -3, and 53. Okay, and I'll untick so we don't need to see those. So now we have a particular match formation. Let's add the player name onto the label. Looking good. Let's make these circles. I've got all Liverpool data in this case, so we'll make the color and I'll give it a bit of a border, and let's bump up the size. Okay, so I can let's have a look at this, and we can go over here and I can see I've got all my matches. Let's make this a single value list so I can scan through the matches. I'd probably like to know who this is. So what I could do is add the opposition maybe to the detail here. And in my title, let's put in the match details opposition. So I can see Burnley, or if I click, it updates for each and every one. Okay, so that's how you create formations within Tableau. The trick to it is creating that formation file, which lists each formation, each player ID, like 1 to 11, and what coordinate you want them to be at. And once you do that, you can join it on to your existing data set and you're able to create this. Okay, in a future video, I will show how to not just show a single game at a time, but how you can also create an entire picture. So I can scan through Liverpool's season or most of it in one screen. So this is still one viz, but there's a couple of additional things added in terms of, you know, what formation they played, maybe the scoreline, but also I've created this multi-level view so you can see multiple pitches in the one view. Okay, thanks for watching.